Hey, cunts. Welcome back to another episode of Confessionals. Today's episode is going to be all about doing things alone, being solo. And I am a big advocate of community, friendships, doing things with other people, making new friends. But I think it's just as important to spend time alone and to have a good balance between the two. This past weekend, last week, I went to Outside Lands on Sunday to see Chapel Roan, and oh my God, it was just absolutely magical. I went by myself because I don't really know anybody else that's as big of a fan of her as I am. And when I really like someone, I like an artist, I want to be front row. I want to be close. I want their sweat dripping off in my mouth. Like that's how close I want to be. I want to smell them. I want to be that close. And it takes some dedication to do that. It takes being with the right people. And sometimes, as much as you may love your friends, they might not do those same things you want to do in a festival. So I thought it was just better to go on my own, to go alone. And it's not the first time I go to a festival alone. So for the episode today, I am going to be talking about the festivals that I've gone to by myself. I've gone to raves by myself. Or have I gone? Yes, I have I gone to raves? Let me think. No. Have I not? No, but I've ended up by myself at raves. So I'll talk a little bit about that. I go on solo dates all the time. I go to, lunch, dinner if I really want something. And I have traveled a little bit by myself. So today I'm just going to be talking about what it took for me to get there. Disclaimer for me, it's always been a little bit easier to do those things, but I'm going to talk about what it takes to get to that point from my experience because even though those things are do come easier to me, I still have a lot of anxiety. Girl, there's anxiety meds in my nightstand that I take sometimes because it's really bad and I do still have a fear of going outside. So I don't think my anxiety has to do with being alone in places, but it does arise sometimes. And so I'm going to talk about challenging fear and how you can have fun on your own. I'm hoping that today's episode is 30 minutes, 40 minutes. This is my seventh one, and my long form episodes have been an hour. I don't know how I can yap so much. And I'm gonna try and keep them as short as possible because I realize that people's attention spans are not that long. And I feel like if I'm gonna do an episode that's gonna be an hour long, there has to be a guest. So fingers crossed I can have guests soon. I have to figure some things out. But for now, I'm gonna try and keep my episodes uh like between 30 and 40 minutes. We'll see if that works. Today's a trial episode, okay? So without further ado, let's get this episode started. My first ever solo festival was Besame Mucho back in last year, 2023. And I was a little scared about going on my own, but I felt like I could do it just because, again, I didn't really know anybody that felt that way about the music. And that's usually my reason for going alone to these things. It's just the music. It's because I'm a huge, huge fan of something, and I rather just let all my excitement out without having to worry whether somebody else is having fun or what they want to see. So for Besame Mucho, I actually went for the first time in 2022, and I went with one of my friends, and it was her first festival. And this girl, I love her to death, but she's bougie as hell. She's so fucking bougie. So even though I know she had fun, but I don't think she had the type, like, the extent to where the fun could peak from for her versus me was very different. Just because, I mean, festivals are rough. Handling the crowds, the pushing, the shoving. There's rude people at every festival. For the most part, there's always going to be somebody rude that's going to be pushing, and you kind of have to have patience and manage that, right? It's not like it's not like a concert, really. So, and it's you're out in the heat. Most of these festivals are outside. You're out in the heat. And yeah, it's porta potties. If you don't have EAP, you're gonna have to deal with porta potties. So it's messy. It's messy. And I don't think she liked that. But it was still a lot of fun. I had a great time. But I realized that for the next year, I think it was best for me to go alone. Even if I were to go with a friend that could handle festivals a little bit better, I still don't think it would be as much fun as it was going alone. Because when you go alone, you really have full control of everything that happens in the festival. And Besame Mucho 2023, oh my God. I missed Paquita la del Barrio because I got there way too late. But for that festival, I got VIP because the bathrooms are significantly nicer. And I swear, it's so fucking expensive, but it's worth it. And so I got VIP, and VIP has for the main stage, they have a great viewing area, so I didn't have to camp out or nothing. And I made friends. I usually notice there's always somebody that is alone in these things. There's always somebody else going solo. So the first person that I met was a girl who had actually gone with friends, but she had gotten separated from them. So I hung out with her for a little bit. I danced with her. And then I went to the pop stage and I met two people that were friends, a guy and a girl. And they were so much fun. They were so much fucking fun. Like I was just dancing and jumping. And I did whatever the hell I wanted. I left whenever I wanted. It's having full control without having to worry about anybody but yourself. Mwah, chef's kiss, the best. I did have a complication with the Uber situation at the end, and I was not in my, in the best state of mind because I had, done some stuff. So that was a little hard. I think it to some extent you do have to keep your shit together if you're by yourself because there's nobody taking care of you. But other than that, I had a blast. I had a great time. And I've always gone like solo dates if I want to go somewhere out to eat. I've always gone by myself. And I do hear people that say that they struggle with that because they're scared of being perceived. And I get it. I get it. There's always going to be somebody staring, or sometimes people may approach you, but I do pick my places carefully. I try not to go to places where there's gonna be like men that are gonna approach me. Yeah. Like for example, one of the places I do love to eat by myself here in LA is Gracias Madre. And I go there with friends and by myself with my boyfriend, but going by myself is so fun. I just sit at the bar and nobody bothers me. Nobody bothers me because it's a lot of couples, lots of families, gays, like it's chill. But I do sometimes notice that I tend to gravitate towards grabbing my phone or kind of being distracted from the present moment. And what I like about being alone is that it's easier for me to ground myself because I only have to worry about me. But when I do go to dinners, sometimes the anxiety kicks in a little bit, and it's pretty subconscious, but it makes me question why some people are so scared of doing things alone. And I mean, fear, I don't really have the answer to that. I think fear can be a pretty challenging thing to manage, but it kind of has to be like swimming. You just kind of have to jump into the water and do it. And with practice, it gets easier. I saw an interview with Will Smith, and I love Will Smith. I know he's gotten some lashback for some things he's been doing, or he did past tense, but I love that man. I think he's so wise. He's great in his interviews. And there was one interview in particular that stood out to me where he said that he makes it his purpose to face his fears and to live out his fears. So every time that he's afraid of doing something, he goes out of his way to do it and to just like challenge himself that way. And I think it's so fucking scary because like there's so many things that we think that we want to do, and usually they're really big, but I also think it's important to start small because some of us want to, I don't know, like stand up to that person, stand up to our parents, and we've just been conditioned to be people pleasers or people, I can't speak, people pleasers or whatever may be the case. But I think when it comes to challenging fear, you kind of have to start small and attack your tiny little fears. I know for me, for example, one of the fears that I have right now, this is very relevant to this podcast, is having a guest on the podcast. And I've done interviews before. I've interviewed some friends, but it's been over Zoom, and that is a whole lot easier. And I really want to do it in person, but I'm just controlling a conversation. I mean, I usually do it sometimes when I'm outside in social settings, but doing it in a controlled environment where you're being filmed and you're the one in control of the conversation, that's a little scary. So I think for me, that's like my next thing that I'm going to attack. But it's important to start small, to start with what you are able to handle and then go from there. And if you're feeling really brave, there's nothing wrong with attacking a big fear. I mean, props to you if you're able to do that. But the value in doing all of this is that you are honoring yourself and you are living authentically. You're honoring the fact that as a human being, you deserve to live authentically. Because what is a life where you just don't do shit, where you're just scared all the time and you don't do anything? And if I feel like if you're not able to challenge your fears with positive things that are only going to benefit you, then you are less likely to stand up in situations where it really matters. Like, let's say somebody's being harmed in front of you and you just become a bystander and you don't do anything. Challenging your fears builds character, and it doesn't only apply when it benefits you, but it applies to benefit other people. Uh, Not too long ago, yesterday actually, and it's gonna get a little dark, trigger warning, just for a little bit, just for a little bit. But in my apartment complex, there's a baby that is always crying. She's probably like a toddler, maybe like 3, 4. Um, and I always hear this baby crying, and I never knew what the baby looked like. And I was leaving the my elevator to my garage, right? And there was somebody going in, and the baby's like nagging. She's like complaining and whatever. That's what babies do. And I was exiting and I was already like pretty far away, but I could still hear the baby because she was being pretty loud. And the elevator door shut, and as soon as it shut, I just hear the bitch ass mom fucking smack her hard as hell and the baby crying. And I'm just like, I was in shock and I was triggered, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about that because I mean, I really couldn't go back and like go to the elevator, and I don't know what floor they're gonna be on. It might have been my floor because I always hear a baby crying. I don't know if it's the same baby, but uh I just thought like, damn, like what would I do if I bump into them again, or if I'm in the elevator? Like, I want to be in the same elevator as them again. Well, I haven't been, but I want to be now. And I know what they look like. I kind of have I saw them through passing, but I kind of know what they look like. And I feel like a useful thing about challenging my fears is that now I want bitches to try me. Like, I really want bitches to try me because I'm not scared. I am a little scared in that situation because it's very serious, especially if you're stuck in an elevator with somebody. Like that bitch ass mom could have whooped my ass too. But I think I'm significantly less afraid just because I've done other things that have made me braver. So I haven't been able to stop thinking about that. And I think if you were a person, if somebody's a person where they're just scared all the time, they would just stay quiet while seeing a child be abused. And those are critical, critical situations where your bravery is needed. Like, fuck you doing better in life. Like, fuck your dreams, whatever. Like when it matters, it matters. And I'm just hoping I'm in that fucking elevator again. I'm hoping that I'm in an enclosed space and I'm hoping that bitch doesn't whoop my ass. But I've been thinking about what to say and how to say it because if I just tell that bitch like what the fuck are you doing? Don't beat your kid, that could be worse. So I've been trying to formulate a way to stand up for that child in a way that is not endangering that child even more. So, yeah, I think facing your fears matters because not only does it benefit you, but it could benefit others in situations like this one. So, if you're having trouble with like why thinking of reasons why to do this, think of that. Think of that. Challenging your fears keeps you from being a bystander. Another reason why I think it's important to do things alone is that it teaches you independence. And this is pretty much a given. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I feel like I can just do anything on my own. And I mean, I have friends and I have my boyfriend, right? And usually I do things with them. But for example, like outside lands, I didn't really have anybody to go with because even if they would come with me, it would just be a challenge because we'd probably want to see different people. The vibes are just different. And yeah, I mean, if you want to maximize your fun, your experiences, you're gonna have to get this shit out of the way and become independent. And I think it becomes useful in dating also because it's important to have your own identity outside of your partner. And if you have nothing to do and you really want to do something, it just makes things so much more simple. It makes things easier. And it also makes things a lot more fun. I feel like that is probably the second best reason to going to festivals and dinners, lunch, traveling alone is it can actually be more fun because you're not really alone if you're making new friends. And I know this is the probably another scary part of doing things alone is talking to people. And to me, it is a little challenging, but once I get a drink or two in me, that shit is easy. That shit is easy. And I usually just talk to women or gay men. So most of the time, they're gonna be so fucking friendly. I have encountered some rude ass bitches or some people that just kind of like give me a side eye if I'm talking to them, but you can't take that shit personal. It almost happens every time. It happens at outside lands. I was watching Chapel. Well, I was waiting for Chapel, right? And there was three girls total that I tried to talk to. Two were together and one was with her girlfriend. And the two that were together as friends were little high school girls. And I was like, I ended up hanging out with them. They were so much fucking fun. Like, I love them. They were the best. But I kind of was trying to lean more to the girl that was closer to my age, just because I don't know, like I just felt like maybe that would be better. And it wasn't. It wasn't like this. I forgot what I was. I think I was just like asking her questions like, "Oh, who are you here?" blah blah blah. And she was just like really really short and dry. And even when the music came on, like she wasn't really like dancing that much. She was just recording. So, yeah, I am glad that as soon as I saw her side-eyeing me at some point because I talked to her girlfriend. And I don't know if she thought that I wanted her fucking girlfriend. Her girlfriend was so nice, by the way. But I don't know if that's what she thought. I don't know what the fuck her problem was, but that bitch was side-eyeing me. Maybe because I offered her, maybe because I offered her a bump, like in secret, because I had been up since 3 a.m. and I'd only slept like 2 hours. It was like a nap, basically. And I really needed to take a fucking bump just to fucking stay awake. And I was not gonna do fucking coke in front of 16-year-olds. Like that was not gonna fly. I was not gonna offer them shit. That would have no. So this girl was 24 and I offered, I'm like, hey girl, I have a little bump if you want to do one with me, but we just kind of have to keep it on the low because these girls are, right here. And she just looked at me like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Which is fine, right? Like nobody's obligated to do anything. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I ended up gumming it so it wasn't like obvious. And that shit's disgusting. I hate doing that. But that kept me up, thank God. I survived. But yeah, maybe it was because of that. But she was kind of being dry before that. Whatever. Anyways, I think that just tends to happen. You're always gonna meet somebody that's gonna be side-eyeing you or really not talking, and that's okay. That's okay. There's always gonna be other people that gonna be really cool and are gonna want to spend time with you. The 16-year-old girls, dude, they were so much fun. They had liquor in their sunscreen bottle. They were so nice. They were hyping me up, and I'm like, bitch, I'm supposed to hype you up. What the fuck? Cutest outfits too. The cutest outfits I saw for the entire festival, by the way. These high schoolers, they know how to fucking dress. What are they? Are they Gen Alpha? I guess they're still Gen Z. I don't know. But I feel so old. I feel so old. They were really nice. They were like, "Oh my God, can we ask you all these questions?" And they started asking me about college, boys, like all that fun stuff. Well, for the 5 hours that we were waiting for chapel, they made amazing conversation. They were so cute, so much fun. And then after that, I chilled on my own for a little bit because I needed to rest. I needed to rest. And then I went to another stage, the Suma stage, which is house music. And I met another girl there that was by herself. And then I hung out with a group of friends, a huge group of friends, guys and girls. And oh my God, best fucking vibes of the entire night. We ended up losing them, but they were so much fun. They were the best. And yeah, I mean, it's really not that hard to talk to people once you're already kind of drunk. But I think there's also value in just not talking to anybody and just being in your space. Personally though, for festivals, I enjoy talking to people a little bit more. You make so many new friends and it's fun to like add them on Instagram and then just see what they're up to. It's cool. It's cool. I think going to festivals alone is just another way of building community, but it's a little bit more casual. And you never know. I mean, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what friends you're going to make. And especially if you're in other cities, you could always go and like visit those people if you really click with them. So there's just so much value. There's so much value to doing things alone. And like I said, I think one of the most important things about this is that you are living authentically and you are honoring that because you're doing the things that you really really want to do. And there's space for everything. Like there's things that I just want to do with my boyfriend. Like I'm not really much of a TV watcher, and this is such a couple thing, but I like to binge watch a show with my boyfriend and eat and go out to eat and go to museums. Like those are things that I like to do with him, and those are just reserved for him. And then there's different things that are reserved for my different friends. Like with my friend Zero, oh my God. Like that bitch and I are not demure at all when we go out. And we just go on these crazy adventures and we do all this crazy shit. And we go to the afters and we rave. And I can kind of only do that with him. And then there's my other friends, like every friend serves a different purpose. Every connection serves a different purpose. And being alone serves its own purpose. So that I think is a way of reaching fulfillment, is finding what the roles that different people and different things have in your life. And sometimes, I mean, for people, some of the most challenging ones are making friends, and for others, it's being alone. But yeah, there's value to everything. And also, like, it's not black and white. Like, I'm not saying that you have to go to a festival alone or you have to go on a date by yourself. I think different people, different personalities manage these things differently. I think for me, I'm really getting on the roll of like doing these things alone, but I can only do festivals alone if I am a huge fan of an artist. So for Besame Mucho, it's incredibly nostalgic for me, and it's that shit is embedded in my childhood and what I liked to listen to as a child. So it's for me. It's private. It's just for me. It's just for me. Chapel, similar things. The way her music makes me feel, that is just reserved for me. And I haven't met anybody else that feels that same way. And until I do, I'm probably gonna go see, like, if she comes to LA and does a concert, I would not mind going alone at all. For Ariana Grande in 2018, I went to her concert. My friend at the time, she was a huge Ariana Grande fan, like just as big as me. So it was perfect for us to go together. I just think that there's different extents to what people can handle. There's some people that want to be alone literally half the time, and then the other half spend it with friends. For me, it's probably being alone is probably like a good 25%. So I think it's everybody has their own capacity that they can handle and that they would actually enjoy. And what really matters is that you do it to the extent that you are able to handle, right? Like nobody's forcing you to do all these things alone. I do think they're important to do, but yeah, you know yourself best and you know when and how you can do it. And it's always good to experiment. Like, I realized that I really like being at afters by myself because I'm one of those fucking rat bitches that can party till 6, 9 a.m. I haven't done that in a long time because that shit gets exhausting. But oh my God, I fucking love to party. So there's been a few times, how many times? Yeah, there's been a few times where I've been at afters just by myself. The first time was New Year's going into 2023, and I was technically not there by myself. Like my all my coworkers were there, but I was dancing by myself and I was not talking to anybody. And if people try to talk to me, I would just kind of dismiss them. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to be dancing to the music alone and with strangers. I didn't want anybody that I knew in my proximity. And then I Irish exited that bitch. And then the second time I actually was alone at these afters, and it was gay afters. So no straight men in there, no straight men in sight, which is why I stayed by myself. But I went there with my friend Zero and one of his friends, and they were ready to leave. They were ready to call it a night because it was like maybe 4 or 5 a.m. And I still wanted a party. So I just stayed there for like an hour or two. Oh, and then also in New York, I went to this club bar called Little Sister. I think that's what it's called. And my friends, my New York friends, were ready to leave. I wasn't. I wasn't. So I stayed an extra hour, made new friends. And I mean, all that, there's alcohol involved, which kind of boosts my bravery a little bit. And I'm just able to talk to people, which is why it's fun. But yeah, I forgot where the hell I was going with this. I forgot. I forgot. But in conclusion, I personally get so much value out of doing things alone and exploring places by myself. Oh yeah, when I first moved to LA, it was 2021 January. From January to March, April, I didn't really have any friends. So I was doing everything by myself. I was exploring the city by myself. And it was just so peaceful. there's always going to be value in spending time with yourself and spending time alone. And I think it's important for people to explore the capacity that they're able to do that and how they're able to do that. Because, like I said, for me, if the music is really important to me, then I'd rather do that by myself and I'd rather have that experience by myself. And I don't know, there's just so much value in dating yourself. I know it sounds really cheesy, but I think that's the best way to phrase it. If not dating, then befriending yourself because you honor your desires and what you want. And the fear is so irrational because not the only, but the main source of fear is being perceived. I know like a more legitimate fear that I do have while going alone is safety, depending on the spaces. But I mean, then at that point, it's just important to be mindful of that and where you go. And regardless of how often you decide to be alone or how and when you decide to do it, I think there's always going to be value in it. Always, always, all the time. There's always going to be value in spending time alone and doing outdoorsy things or festivals or concerts or even just a lunch or even just spending time out in nature. It's important. And it's also not everybody's personality to do all this. Like, I'm really extroverted. So, all it takes is I don't even have to drink to talk to people, really. But once I have a drink in me, I can't help it. Like, I will talk to people. I just absolutely can't help it, especially if I'm alone. So, it's easier for me, but I think everybody deals with some level of anxiety when it comes to socializing or being alone. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's imperative that you challenge that and you challenge your fears because, like I said before, they're gonna be useful to your life. They're gonna enrich your life. You're only gonna have better experiences. And those skills of not being as fearful or as anxious are gonna come in really handy when somebody else needs them in situations where you need to speak up for yourself or for somebody, whether it's something mild or extremely severe. All of those things take bravery. Like life takes bravery in general. And I think facing the fear of being alone is a really good place to start challenging those beliefs and those anxieties. Yeah, just jump into the cold water, bitch. It's not gonna be cold for long, and it's so worth it. I don't know where I would be. I mean, I know where I would be if I hadn't faced my fears. Like, I'd be stuck still. I'd be a people pleaser still, and it takes work. I mean, this could go on and turn into this huge mental health talk, but it's important to keep it light sometimes, and I think each person has their own inner work to do to realize why they're so anxious or why they're so fearful or why they can't do this. But this is something that is so flexible. I mean, spending time alone and going to things alone and not letting other things or other people stop you from doing what you want is a very personal journey that you need to be very mindful and introspective with. So, yeah. That concludes this episode, bitches. Damn, I did a good job in keeping this bitch short. That's good. That's good. I really hope that this episode was able to help anyone that is having some sort of social anxiety or fear of booking that trip by themselves or going to that concert or festival on their own or just being out and social, talking to people because it's always going to be an enriching experience. And if it's not as much fun as hanging out with your friends, like that is okay. Like that's also fine. It's, I think it's also important, side note, because I'm in the conclusion, but I think it's important to just manage the expectations and to take it light. Like nothing is ever that fucking serious. It's not that serious. This is just something that is going to benefit your life. It's a skill as well that may benefit others, and you can take it at your own pace. You can do it in any way that you want. And yeah, I mean, like anything, like it's not, again, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. It's all for the benefit of yourself and living authentically. But yes, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Follow me on social media at Amy Sabalsa and at Salsa666 on TikTok with two Z's. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.